Hey, welcome back. It's your old pal Steve Areno Cool Kits. This particular video I'm going to call Part 1 of the 5th Louisiana Infantry, Captain J.G. Angell. This is going to be around persona of Captain J.G. Angell. In the early part of the Civil War, he was there at the surrender at Appomattox. Okay, Part 1, Take 1. Boom. Those of you who have been walking with me on some of my other videos know that I really like to organize my research and scholarship. I like to kind of look at this a certain way as I'm pursuing, defining and understanding about the persona. And this is the binder I'm building right now on J.G. Angell. Kind of at the top, there's kind of an executive summary, and this is information about 5th Louisiana Infantry Unit, how they were organized right at the beginning in May of 1861, and they're in New Orleans, and all the parishes that were around. Then they were ordered directly out from there to Virginia. So they were out in Virginia right at the very beginning in April of 1862. J.G. Angell was a first sergeant. By December of that year, there was an election, and he had been promoted to captain to replace somebody who had resigned. Through that early part, there was a little bit of reorganization that took place. He ended up pretty quickly being organized into Hayes Brigade. Then there's some monuments that you can find at Gettysburg, and those are my notes that I'm putting in here that detail specifically their actions and movements in the Battle of Gettysburg. So the overall timeline that I'm talking about starts over here in May of 1861, where they're organized. Louisiana was part of action, 2nd Manassas, then Sharpsburg, Fredericksburg, 2nd Fredericksburg, Winchester, Gettysburg, Bristow, Rappahannock, Mine Run, Battle of Wilderness, Spotsylvania Courthouse, early Shenandoah Valley Campaign, Monocacy, Winchester, Fisher Hill, Cedar Creek, Petersburg, Hatcher's Run, Fort Stedman, then the final assault on Petersburg, and the Battle of Sailor's Creek. Now we're getting towards the end of the war here, and then there was surrender at Appomattox Courthouse. And so J.G. Angell was part of all these actions. At one point in here, he was taken prisoner of war, and he was exchanged. After that, he was the only officer to be reporting for roll call, which makes him a pretty remarkable character. What I've been able to uncover, this is a carta vista of J.G. Angell. He was a doctor of dental science, and he was a resident of New Orleans. But here's the research I have so far. Probably most likely he went to dental school in Baltimore, Maryland. And then there were only in the Southern Confederate States at the time, there were a little over 300 dentists. That was it, period. And so he was a pretty rare individual that way. Certainly would have been a gentleman. Had all the breeding and station in society that would go along with same. Talk a little bit later about that because, as we know, very famously, Doc Holliday was also a Southerner, and he was also a doctor of dental science. And you can get a lot of clues about how a persona like J.G. Angell would have carried and conducted himself, and certainly looked at the world or perceived the world, and how he would have filtered and understood information coming in to him. That's sort of helpful.
You mind if we sit down? I'm looking for Dave Rudabaugh. There's a reward for information about him if it leads to his arrest.
Are you a lawman, White Up? You are not wearing a badge. Are you ashamed of your profession? I myself was a dentist. I was proud to be a dentist. I did not hide the fact that I was a dentist. How are your teeth, White Up?
They're working all right, I guess.
I'll take good care of them. They cannot be replaced. I am no longer a dentist. I'm a sporting man. That is my work now. In Georgia, we were taught that a man should take pride in his work. Have you ever been to Georgia, White Up? Beautiful state, Georgia. Very green. I was forced to leave Georgia. I fear that I will never see it again.
I'm sorry.
Filling in, piecing in, about him. Here's an excerpt from the Confederate records when he mustered in. As mentioned earlier, he was initially the sergeant and later captain of Company A. He stayed in Company A the whole time with the 5th Louisiana Infantry. And then it goes down through, he was present almost all the time. Just a couple instances of being sick or absent. And then what else can I say? Maybe a little different than I've done at any time before. I'm keeping kind of a running diary of my thoughts as I build out this research. And I've been doing a lot of reading, trying to follow like chronologically in my reading from my library on Civil War, sort of how the war would have been, almost like if you were reading newspaper to J.G. Angell. So I'm starting by reading Shelby Foote's narrative on the Civil War, which of course starts right at the beginning in the Fort Sumter. I guess this point I'm pointing out right here is this version of pursuing a Civil War reenactment impression is different than those before. I'm making it more immersive and informed by projecting myself into a specific time and place, starting with New Orleans, 1860. Society, and evolving from there. Asking the big question, which is, what does J.G. Angell think, and why does he do what he did? Some of the article pieces that I've been able to collect are these in this depictions. Most likely talking to some pretty well informed individuals that we all probably know. This would have been his headwear, something like this, because he went from being a sergeant there in Virginia. He would have had to acquire captain's uniform when he was there, not back in New Orleans. So it wouldn't have been a traditional Louisiana officer's coat. It probably would have been something like this, which is what a gentleman officer of means would have acquired if he was in Virginia at that time. And so this is a famous coat that we all know from Colonel Kite of the South Carolina. And then it would have featured these imported English buttons, which are the script I for infantry. And he most likely would have had a Louisiana belt buckle, so there's that, and the sword trappings like this. And then because of another uniform build I did a long time ago, I have these, which a guy who was with the Washington Artillery acquired when he was in Virginia, and they're in the Echoes of Glory under the Washington Artillery, and that gentleman's name was Latham Page, and so they're known as the Latham Page booties. And so these are mine. I've had them for a number of years, and I recently cleaned them up, and these are made by Missouri Boot Company, and these things have been iron. They've just wear forever, and I've used these for probably going almost on 16 years, I think. So even after 16 years and wearing them a lot, these are how they look now once cleaned up. All right, we'll talk to you guys later. Bye.